सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रम् अथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यात् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ओम शांति 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 So we'll now actually get into the Upanishad. So till now we have seen some introduction and also the Shanti mantra, what is the meaning. So this Upanishad starts with the word Kena. That's why it is called Kenopanishad. Kena means by whom. You can take the meaning. So let us say the first Vakya of this Upanishad. Keneshitam Patati Preshitam Manaha Kena Pranaha Pratamah Praiti Yuktaha Keneshitam Vachamimam Vadati Chakshushrotram Kaudevo Yunakti Kena Ishitam Patati Preshitam Manaha Patati means what? Mind falls, or mind, Patati means literally falling or landing on. So mind is landing on different objects. Mind keeps on going from one object to the other. We have already discussed that. That is the nature of mind. In fact, it has a certain way of association, correct? Associatively, it goes from one thing to the other. Now, is the mind itself capable of doing that? Or the mind is doing that because of the presence of something else? That is the question here. Now the question itself, in fact, if you read the Shankara Bhashya, Bhashyakara assumes that the questioner is a learned person already, or the one who is a qualified student. Means already this person has done some analysis and arrived at a conclusion that I want to know this Atma. But still that is only apatata jnana, means what? General idea is there, but doesn't know specifically what this Atma is. Is there anything called Atma? Because there can be doubt on that, as I told you, because there is no consensus on even whether a Deha Vitrikta Atma itself is there or not. But we all know that we are a conscious being, aware being. There is no doubt about that. At least I am sure about the fact that I am conscious. Whether others also, I suppose, because they are also responding to some stimuli, correct? Based on that, I assume that they are sentient or aware beings like that. Now this consciousness itself, is it a property of the body-mind-sense complex itself, or is it a separate entity? Correct? That is the basic question. That's what one wants to understand. In fact, there is no consensus on this even today, correct? As I told you, scientists also, they don't want to address the subjective experiences and the nature of the subject itself. In fact, they are also hung up on objectively studying things, and because of that, they really do not really think about the nature of the subject or who the subject is, or simply they gloss over it. Some people are trying to study. Nowadays there is actually even departments called consciousness studies and all that in different places. And also the evolution of quantum physics did put some focus on the observer, because the quantum physics, the standard theory says that the observer collapses the quantum system and all that. So an observer is required, but still the nature of that observer and all, they are not very clear. So even today there is no consensus or clarity whether this consciousness, which is supposed to be our very nature, correct? We are all conscious beings, aware beings, because everything becomes evident to me. So I have no doubt that I am a conscious being. But this consciousness itself is where? Is it an entity by itself, or it is a property of this body-mind sense complex? If you go to modern neurologists, they will say it is all only brain. Some chemical reaction is happening in your brain, that is consciousness. So that is one view, that is more like a Charvaka view. But we dismiss that because Bhashyakara, this comes up even right now. We are actually studying the Swayam Jyoti Brahmana in Brihadaranyaka also. There also this argument comes that why can't consciousness be an attribute of this body, or why cannot it be an attribute of the Indriya, because the sense organs are the ones which are aware, correct? They are the ones which are revealing everything. So it cannot be the body, because even if the body is intact, it can be a dead body, right? It doesn't have any consciousness. In fact, we can even do cadaver organ transplantation and all is happening today. Even when the organ is alive, body is dead. Means there is no consciousness in that, there is no awareness. So, body may be intact, but still consciousness is not there. That means, even though consciousness may manifest in the body, it cannot be an attribute. Like even a red hot iron ball is there. If you touch it, it is going to burn you, correct? But you cannot say that fire is an intrinsic property of the iron ball, because if you keep the iron ball as it is, the fire will dissipate, it won't be any more hot, correct? If something is its very nature, that cannot dissipate or go away from that entity. Like fire is always hot because that is its very nature. Like that, so whatever is the nature of a particular object or entity, that cannot go away. Just like that, it should be there. But the very fact that the hot iron ball left to itself, it cools down and all that, shows that fire is only incidental. It's an incidental attribute or transitory. Like that, Bhashyakara dismisses this view that body itself is the conscious entity or it is an attribute. Consciousness is an attribute of the body, it cannot be. But Indriya, how does he argue about that? He says that Indriya also, each Indriya is only revealing one thing. Correct? Eyes are only conscious of color and forms. Ears are only conscious of. But the thing is, I am seeing, I am hearing. Correct? So there is a common entity who is also the seer and also the hearer. That means because the hearer is the same as the seer. That means eyes alone cannot be a conscious entity, ear alone cannot be. The conscious entity has to be somebody who is independent of both eyes and ears, but who uses them as an instrument. Because my experience is that the hearer is the seer, the seer is the smeller, whatever, correct? The one who feels the touch is the one who is also tasting food. Like that, the same entity is the one who is for to whom all these sensations are becoming evident, we can say, correct, through different senses. Therefore, sense organs themselves cannot be, or they cannot be the locus or the substance to which the consciousness can become an attribute. So then what? But mind is common in all the cognition. Only if the mind backs up your sense organ, then we can say that some cognition takes place, sense perception takes place. But mind, whatever is happening in the mind also is becoming evident to a conscious being. And even when the mind is not there, what is my experience? I am there. When the mind is resolved, when there is no mind in deep sleep, mind has gone to sleep, mind has resolved. But I am there. And I can get up and say I slept well, I did not know anything, also is there. So like this, mind also is only an object. So the conscious entity is independent of your body, mind, sense complex. This is what is the teaching. But even though this is the teaching, it's not very clear to most of the people. So there is a question. Student is well informed, but still student is confused in the sense or want to clarify. There can be vagueness also. Right? A question can either come from a certain confusion, or even if there is no confusion, but it is still vague. There is no clarity. So the student is asking, we can say. Right? Nowadays, many people ask questions just for asking questions. Correct? They don't really care even for the answer. Most of the press conference and all that, the reporters are happy to ask some gotcha question. Okay, they question, and by questioning only they accomplish something. They don't care what the answer which is coming. That is also there. Or if you are very clear about the question, correct? If the question is very clear, also there is one thing. What? Then you are not asking to know the answer. You are asking to know whether the other guy really knows the answer or not. So, question can be asked in many ways. Of course, a question may not be always clear because it is coming from a certain, there is a sandeha is there, correct? There is some doubt and vagueness and all that also is there. So that is reflected in this question also, because the questioner has a certain understanding that there has to be an entity which is actually the reason for the mind behaving as mind does, correct? Mind, what is the nature of mind? It goes and falls on different objects, it lands on different objects, right? It keeps on thinking about different things. So, manaha patati, but kena ishitam preshitam. Two words are also used here, okay? So there is a, why should two words be used? Because ishitam should actually be ishtam. Ishitam is chandasa prayoga, that extra it is coming there. So ishitam comes from the dhatu, ish dhatu only. Ishu is the dhatu. Even that dhatu can have many meanings, okay? Three meanings are there: abhikshya, gati and icha. Then Bhashyakara says here icha is the right meaning. Desire means due to the desire of whom the mind is acting as it is. Okay. Now there can also be a question: why should mind act according to somebody else's desire? Can it not act on its own? Swatantriya. Why it cannot? There's a question, valid question.
Mind is manasa buddhi.
Ellame, the antakarana here. Mind here is all mano, buddhi, ahankara, chittam. You can take all four together. It's antakarana. Sometimes we also look at it as four different ways or aspects of the same. But it's the same instrument, right? It is the internal instrument or antakarana. That is the mind here. So, why can't the mind independently? Then, in fact, this question Bhashyakara asks in the Bhashya itself. Then he answers that if that is the case, then why is the mind thinking about even anartha or undesirable things and all that? So even after prohibiting somebody from something, that person keeps thinking about even the prohibited thing, even knowing very well that it is not something good for you and all that. People fall for it. So why is all that happening? So that shows that the mind doesn't have any swatantriya. So it is impelled by somebody else, okay, or something else. What is that entity is the question here. So ishitam is ishtam, means itcha matrena. Somebody's desire alone, or to fulfill somebody's desire, the mind is acting. And then preshitam also is used. Okay, preshitam is also coming from the same dhatu, ishu. But there is a prefix, pra is there. Okay. So if you add pra with ishu means then the meaning becomes niyogartha. Niyoga means like forced or impelled by whom? Here. It's not somebody is desiring, I desire that you want to do that, but you may still not do. Even knowing that I desire that, your parents desire so many things. They want so many things from the children. Children don't care for all that. But certain things your parents force you also. It's not that they just desire, but they really force you or impel you or whatever. They make sure that you do it. Certain things are non-negotiable. Whatever, something like that. So Preshitam points out to something like that. It is not that, means Preshitam points to a willful pushing for somebody else to do something else, correct? Or willfully causing the other thing into some activity. This Ishitam is more like Sannidhi Matrena, because of the presence of whom things are happening. Like you can say, for Ishitam the analogy is what? You can take 2-3 analogies are there. Okay, one you can take even the sun. So in the presence of sun, lotus blooms. Sunflowers are turning, wherever the sun goes, the sunflower is turning, right? There the sun is not, sun is not impelling or anything, correct? There is no will on the part of sun. Sun is being as it is. But all activities or so many things are happening in the presence of the sun. If you go to the sun and say, hey, you only caused all these things to happen, means sun will say, no, don't impute anything on me. I am just shining as I am. I am not responsible for anything which happens in the light which I give. So something like that you can say, Sannidhi Matrena. Or another example which is given in the Shastra is like the king or Raja. So Raja literally doesn't do anything, right? Raja is sitting in the throne with his scepter and all that. Okay, Sengol. With Sengol, now it is very famous. So Raja is sitting. Now, but the whole government is functioning from where means the power comes from the Raja only, correct? For the sake of the Raja, the entire administration is functioning. So like that also you can say. Or the other one example is magnet also, correct? In the presence of magnet, different iron filings and whatever magnetically attractive metals and all, they become active, they move around, etc. So like this, there is, by just presence alone, whether the mind, presence of some entity, the mind is behaving as mind. That is one question you can say. Or somebody is impelling, correct? Preshitam. So like this, both the questioner is well informed. Okay, the questioner wants to know whether that means it is more like, if we, from the answer standpoint, both are true in fact. Okay, we'll see that. Because if you look at the answer which will come next, if you give the answer as in the presence of Nirgunam Brahma, means it is just presence. Anidhi Matrena, everything happens. Correct? So that is going to be the answer, but the answer itself is given in a very interesting manner, we'll see. But this is the question. So, whether the entity in whose presence the mind is behaving as mind, is that entity just there, and or that entity is actively impelling or forcing you, this mind and all, to act. Not only mind, correct? First part is mind. Kene shitam patati preshitam manaha. Kena pranah prathamah praiti yuktaha. So pranaha praiti. Again, prana is active, correct? Prana means again it's all movement only, correct? Either you are taking the breath or exhaling or excreting, all these things are all active. Prana is completely, it is karmendriya, samanya also. In fact, all activity in the body is attributed to prana. And that prana also, prathamaha prana it is said. Why? Because the prana word can be used in many senses, correct? Prana can simply mean prana vayu also. Or grana prana also it can mean. Grana prana means what? The sense of smell also is related to, is breathing, correct? Is related to breath. So grana prana means, prana can mean the sense of smell, or it can in general mean all indriyas also. In some context, the word prana means all the indriyas. Here prathama prana means mukhya prana. Prathamaha means mukhyaha. Like even the most important lady in the country is called first lady, correct? First lady means normally the wife of the president or the prime minister and all that, depending on the country, I think. So there the first means what? First is not in the sense that the oldest or whatever. Basically first means most important, mukhya. So mukhya prana means this pancha prana only, we say. Prana, pana, vyana, udana, samanaha, all these things are included in that. So the prana is active, or it is acting due to, again yuktaha here means niyuktaha only, impelled by whom the prana is active, it is doing whatever it is doing. Not only prana, then what? Kene shitam vacham imam vadanti. Janaha, you can add, or even vagindriya also. So the vacham means all these words, correct? Vadanti is spoken. Impelled by whom the words are spoken. So again, the words, spoken words have a certain power, correct? Where does that all that come from also we have to think. Words are not ordinary, because word itself has a certain form and a sound and even associated effort and all with that, correct? Because if you read Sanskrit, the beauty is even the Shiksha Shastra is there. They talk about so many things, because how to produce a sound means there is a Bahya Prayatana, Antara Prayatana and all that. Because the basic sound is A. That's why even Vanduvar also says Agara Mudale Eduthallam. Why he says A is in most languages, the first alphabet is A or A, whatever. A is the sound, even though we call it A, but A is, the sound of A is really A. So A is the basic alphabet. Why? Because if you open your mouth and don't do any effort, correct? No other effort, what is the sound you get? It is always A. A is the basic sound. It is like vanilla ice cream, correct? Ice cream means vanilla is the basic flavor. Then you add all other things, means it becomes other ice cream. Okay. In fact, the ice cream industry, you can go and ask. They will say that vanilla is the base ice cream, always. Like that, A. If you don't do anything, A is the sound. If you close your mouth, what? You can only say, you can do different shruti, and all that, but it is still only. You cannot say anything else. So in general, what we say is all sounds are only from A to every other sound is in between, correct? And how do all these other sounds come? Means when there is a prayatna involved, correct? That means if you do the prayatna here, that is called ka varga, or kantya it is called in Sanskrit. Why? Because the effort you are putting is in the throat, kantha. So kantya. So kakha, gagha means ka is called alpa prana. Again the antra prayatna there is alpam means you do not expel too much air, but kha means it has to come from your diaphragm. The ka, kha. In fact, most Tamilians don't know the difference between ka and kha because it is not there in our language. You have only ka, nga straight away. Ka, kha, ga, gha. The other three sounds are, it's not there. Or it is there, ka and ga are there. Mahaprana is not at all there. But within Tamil rules, there are certain rules are there. In some place it is ka, in some place it will become ga. But ka and gha, there is no knowledge. That is why it is very difficult to teach hardcore Tamil people. To teach Sanskritam also is a problem. Because that pronunciation will never come. In North India, there are other problems. This Akara Lopa is the biggest problem. Everywhere they will leave. In Sanskritam, there is no Akara Lopa. Understand that. There is no Rama. It is Rama. Rama is the Shabda. So, even the Sambodhana is Rama. Hare Rama you have to say. You cannot say Hare Rama. There is no Hare Ram. The mantra is actually Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna you have to say. You cannot say Hare Ram, Hare Krishna. The Akara has to come. But Akara, they have a habit of leaving out the particularly if it is in the end, they will leave it out. So that is another problem. But each language has something. You go to Kerala, everything will become soft consonant and nasal also. Okay. Everything will become soft also. Very difficult. There is some other problem. So regionally we have different things. But if you are a Sanskrit purist, then you have to look into all these things. Anyway, what I was trying to say is we were talking about Vak. So the Vak itself is a big thing. Okay, there is a whole Shiksha Shastram behind how to produce all these sounds, but not only sound, the sounds make up a word. Means word has its own power again. Because word represents a meaning. Then because as soon as we hear the word, meaning also is flashing, correct? That's Purana is there.
Tonality also is there.
Yeah. Swara also is there. So there is a pronunciation, there is a swara, then there is meaning. So many things are associated with Vak. So where did all these things come from? From whom? Correct? That is a question. Keneshitam vachamimam vadanti chakshushrotram kau devo yunakti.
Kau devo.
Yeah. So devaha. Again the devaha word is used. Correct? Means devaha can be generally used for any jyotakatmatam we say. Correct? One who is shining. Anybody who is shining is a deva. Luminous entity is a deva. So deva can be used for Parameshwara also. In this context, we have to take it like that only. In fact, the devaha part again goes along with preshitam. Okay, impelled by which? Is there an Ishvara or somebody who is actually impelling all these jivas? Like this? There is a question here. The deva, the impelled by which deva? Chakshuhu and Shrotra. Means other indriyas also we have to take here. There are this, again it's not an entire list. It's only Upalakshana we have to say. Then you include nose and other indriyas also there, and karmendriyas also you can include. So all the indriyas impelled by whom they are acting, and whether it's a deva, means deva also points to a conscious entity, correct? It also has to be a conscious entity. But if it is a willful entity, means it also has to have a mind then. But that is a problem. Why? Because we already say Keneshitam Padati Preshitam Manaha. But the one who is impelling this mind also has a mind, means then that mind is impelled by what? Again the question now will come. So in Preshitam there is also a problem. And the conclusion is not satisfactory to me, correct? There is a certain dissatisfaction in that, but that is all because the questioner is not knowledgeable, we have to take. Because of this only the questioner even is asking this. Is there a possibility like that really? Even though I think it is not proper, but by asking I want to get clarity. Anyway, there is a certain vagueness. So the Preshitam, Devaha and all these things again can point to an entity, but whether that entity also has a mind, because if it is willing and forcing and impelling and all that, then what is the nature of that Deva? So that is the question. So now what is the answer? The answer is the best. Okay. So the answer is what? Shrotrasya Shrotram Manaso Manoyat Vachoha Vacham Sa Upranasya Pranaha Chakshushas Chakshuhu Atimuchya Dhiraha Pretyasman Lokat Amrita Bhavanti. So in fact, this one answer is good enough. The complete answer, Vedanta, is again there in this particular, this second Vakya of this Upanishad. In fact, rest of the Upanishad you can even take it as an explanation of whatever is given here. So here, what is the answer? Shrotrasya Shrotram Manasaha Manaha, like that, the answer is given. So what is this weird answer? I asked you, is there anybody who is impelling this mind and all that? Then what is the answer you are giving? He is that entity which is impelling is Shrotrasya. Shrotra means what? Ear of the ear. What is this ear of the ear? Or hearer of the hearing, you can say like that also. It comes in Brihadaranyaka also. Okay. Drashtur drishtehe viparilopo na vidyate avinashitvat, like that. So drashtuhu drishtehe, like that it is said. That means what? The seer of sight. See, normally we say sight or seeing or hearing and all that. We associate it only with the Indriya, correct? Indriya, but the Indriya's ability to see, that Bhashyakara says there are two seers. In the Aitreya Bhashya also this particular topic comes. Normally whom we think is the seer, which is the Indriya, correct? The Chakshur Indriya. If you go to modern scientists, they will only say the Golaka. But the Chakshur Golaka, the physical organ alone cannot see. Okay? For us, the Indriyas are all in Sukshma Sharira. It is all subtle. So the Sukshma Indriya, that itself is the one which is the seer or not, means that seer does not always see, because it gets resolved in sleep. It is not there in the dream, active. So it is only active during the waking time. Even during waking time, it may not be always active. Why? Suppose you don't eat for 5 days. Then your eyesight, hearing ability, everything is going down. Correct? In fact, in the Chandogya Upanishad, the 6th chapter, it is there that Shvetaketu is the student. Okay, he is learning from his father Uddalaka. Then to teach him that prana is the main thing. Okay, due to prana alone, all the other indriyas are. In fact, even here we say pratham of prana. Right? Why is prana prathamaha or mukhyaha? Because only if the prana is functioning properly, all other indriyas can function. In fact, they had a contest, it seems. Who is bigger amongst all these indriyas and all that? Now, if any one indriya is not functioning also, it is fine. Correct? But, so now Shvetaketu was asked to fast for 15 days. Okay? 15 days fasting, no food. Then he understood that none of the Indriyas can function, because without food and without prana distributing all the whatever the essence of the food to all the Indriyas, they are not able to function. So prana is the main thing here anyway. So these Indriyas, their ability to see or hear or smell and all that, it is all only transient, it is not always there. But there is one more seer of that sight itself. Who is that? The one who knows whether you are seeing or not. Correct? The one who knows whether I am seeing or not. That is the seer actually. That is the seer of sight itself. That conscious being to whom it becomes evident whether your eyes are seeing or not. In fact, that we know very well because most of you are old enough and wearing reading glasses at least, correct? So whenever we go for the glass check, what happens? Only you have to say whether you are able to see or not, correct? However sophisticated the machine may be, finally they only keep changing different lens. It is you say whether you are able to see or not. Who is that? Who is the one who is then telling whether the Indriya itself is functioning properly or not? Means that is the consciousness we are talking about. That is the Chakshushas Chakshuhu, correct? Drishtahe Drashtaram, it is called. The one who sees the sight itself, or one who is the hearer of hearing means what? One who knows whether the ears are hearing or not properly. Even there, if you are fitting a hearing aid and all that, correct? Then you only have to say whether the hearing aid works properly or not. Who is the one who is saying that? So that is the entity now here talked about. But the beauty here is what? It is the same entity, correct? Because Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manaso Manaha, Vachoha Vacham, Sa is only singular, correct? Means Shrotrasya Shrotram also is that conscious entity. Manasaha Manaha also is the same conscious entity, correct? The one who knows whether the mind is active or not, whether the mind is thinking or not, what emotions is there in the mind, what thought is going on in the mind, to whom it becomes evident. That is the Manasaha Manas, correct? The one who knows whether the mind itself is active or not, what is happening in the mind, to whom it becomes evident. That conscious entity. And that is the same entity which is also using karmendriya like vak, etc. Correct? Vachoha vacham means that same conscious entity in whose presence only in whose light we can say, correct? This is what is called as a jyoti. In the Vedarnika also the Jyotir Brahmanam is there. So the light means there, how do you define a light? Light means it is not really physical light they are talking about. Light means physical light also is a light because light is defined as in whose presence activities are happening. You are able to do whatever. You can sit, you can walk, you can do whatever activities you want to do. In which light you are able to do that. Means what is the Jyoti means? Surya is the Jyoti first we say. Because when sun is there, all activities are happening. But what if the sun sets, there is no sun? In moonlight also I can do, correct? What if it is full moon or new moon day, there is no moon? Means fire. Nowadays we have electrical lights and all that, but Agni. So like that you have other lights. What if even none of those lights are there means, even in darkness I can use other senses, correct? I can use touch, I can hear sounds, I can smell, and based on that also I can navigate and do whatever I want to do. What if all the Indriyas are also resolved? You are in sleep. What is the light? Because you are also dreaming. There is a whole dream world. That is lighted up by whom then? Under which light all the activities in the dream are happening. Means that is your light of the Atma alone. Atma Jyoti only it is. In fact, Atma alone is the real Jyoti, because even when the sun is shining, The sunlight also is lighted up by only the Atma Jyoti. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam, like that we say, correct? Natatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam. Like that we chant that during in the Aarti also in the temple. So really speaking, sun or moon or other sources of light, they are not shining. Their very existence also is only established by this Atma Jyoti, which is the conscious entity, and that consciousness is separate from this body mind sense complex, but that consciousness itself is not an object of your mind or your senses or anything. It cannot become an object. In fact, because it is Shrotrasya Shrotram. You understand? Your ear is an object of this consciousness, because this conscious being only knows whether your ear is functioning or not, your eyes are functioning or not, your whatever, your tongue is tasting, because some days you drink coffee too hot, what happens? Then for the rest of the day, there is no taste, your tongue is burnt. Then who knows that also again? Whether the tongue is tasting or not, only you know, the conscious entity. So that conscious entity to whom all these things becomes evident, but that entity itself is not an object of any of your indriyas or even mind. It cannot be. In fact, it is the eternal subject. That is also pointed out here. By saying Shrotrasya Shrotram, it is pointed out that in that light alone, in its presence alone, all these indriyas and mind and all other karmendriya also are active. Vachoha vacham sa-u pranasya prana. Means u here is again an emphasis, you can say. Indeed. And that is the prana of the prana also. Even the prana is active, because there can be a doubt when you are talking only about indriya. Like Shrotrasya Shrotram can be even said to be mind, correct? Because mind is the common thing. See, there is something called, these Nayayikas talk about Sadharanam Karanam, Asadharanam Karanam also. Okay? Sadharanam Karanam means they say that for anything to happen, there are some common causes are there. They include Ishvara, Papa Punya, Desha, Kala and all in that. Okay? But then there are specific causes also which produce the effect. Like the wheel is required to make a part, correct? Unless there is a wheel, you cannot make, the wheel has to rotate. For that you require a stick also to rotate it, or that entire sadhana, wheel with stick and all that. That is called asadharanam karanam, because for making the part, that is a specific cause is required. The asadharanam karanam is called karanam also. That is an instrument. The karanam, the definition for karanam is asadharanam karanam. Now all the indriyas are all karanam only, correct? They are asadharanam karanam for a particular type of cognition. For seeing color, eyes are asadharanam. Ears are, again for hearing sound, it is asadharanam karanam, which is karanam there. But mind is sadharanam behind that. Because mind is common, mind has to back up the indriyas. So when I say chakshushas chakshuhu, can't it be mind? Means it can be, but that's why it is said manasaha manaha also. Manasaha manaha also is there. By saying that what mind is also not, mind is not that sadharanam. There is another sadharanam karanam which is behind even the mind. Similarly, for all karmendriya, prana is sadharana. Right? Without prana, there cannot be any walking, whatever other activities you are doing, correct? You cannot hold anything also. Your hands, feet, none of which can be active. Prana is main for karmendriya. But even pranasya, pranaha, means this is sadharanam with reference to even prana. So that is this conscious entity in whose light alone all the activities of all these different karmendriya, jnanendriya, etc. are happening. Not only this, Okay, this is one meaning. So in whose light means what? It is the self-revealing entity, correct? It is self-luminous or self-revealing. That's what we call Swaprakasha. So this conscious entity is Swaprakasha because you don't need to operate any pramana to know this. So it is Swaprakasha. Just because it is Swaprakasha, it is also Swata Siddha, means it is self-existent also. Because it doesn't depend on anything else for its existence. But that is not true about all the other things. When we say Shrotrasya Shrotram, it's not only that the ears are functioning in the light of this consciousness, the very existence of the ear itself is only given by this conscious entity. Understand that. Both we have to understand here. The answer is not only in terms of the presence, but the presence is the one which is giving its very existence also. Because only a self-existent entity can lend its existence to other entities. The others are all not self-existent. They are all having only dependent existence, as we have already discussed, correct? That is what is called mithya. So all the other things, their ability comes and goes also in whatever they are doing, as we talked about already, correct? They have this, whatever they are doing, those things are transitory, and their very existence also, they depend on this conscious entity only. They depend on this conscious entity for their activity and for their very existence. This Chaitanyam alone, this Atma Swarupa alone is both self-existing and self-revealing reality, who basically in whose presence and whose existence all these things are possible. So that is the answer. So if you know this,
self-illuminating means,
that's what I told you. If I ask you, are you there? What are you saying? I am there. How did you know that? Means you don't have to use any means of knowledge to know that, correct? That means it is revealing itself to you. You are a self-revealing, self-existing conscious being. That is your reality actually. Because you don't have to use any means of knowledge to know your own existence. That is what is called Swaprakasha, we are saying. Correct? Swaprakasha, Swata Siddha in Sanskritam. So this is you, and in your presence alone, all these activities are happening. So now why do we even have to talk about it like this? Because in Vedanta Upanishad, in one place, the different Brahmanas are questioning Yajnavalkya. So they even ask, why cannot you show me this Atma like we show a cow and all that, correct? This is the cow. Why cannot you show me like, why are you saying all this Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manasaha, Manaha and all that? That is because you cannot do that. That's the beauty, correct? That's the reality. Because it's not an object. Understand that. In fact, if it is an object, means it will become jada. It will become limited. Because if you are able to objectify it, it will also become limited and it will become inert. So many things are a problem if it is an object. So it is the eternal subject alone which can never be objectified. So there is no other way we can reveal this, correct? In fact, later on in the Vedanta, he says, Vijñātāram mare kena vijāniyāt. He asks, the one who knows all these things, who is always of the nature of knowing, correct? This knowing also is not an activity on the form of Atma, understand that. Mind, how does knowing happen in mind? Means there is a manovritti, we say, correct? Mind modifies. There is a certain state of mind. So when the mind takes the shape of the object, then knowledge takes place, we say. That is what is called manovritti. So mind keeps on changing its state. That's how it is active. But all this parinama itself makes it something which is again within the sriti only, correct? In space, time and all that is limited. It keeps on undergoing change. But the Atma Swarupa, the knowing or the knowledge or the Jnapti we say, when we say Satyam Jnanam Anantam as Brahma Lakshana, the Jnanam there is abstract knowing or abstract knowledge, means it is not an activity. It is not the action of knowing or activity of knowing like what happens in the mind. Its very nature is knowing. So while knowing whether the ear is hearing or eyes are seeing or mind is active and all that is not an action of knowing for Atma. That is its very nature. It is always there like that only. That's why we even say later on to clarify drashtuhu dritehe viparilopona vidyate, it is said also. Means what? The seer of the sight never ceases. Okay, the ceases here is C-E-A-S-E. Okay, the seer of sight never ceases. Viparilopaha means it never comes to a stop. Viparilopaha na vidyate means it never stops seeing. Means this Chaitanya Swarupa is always conscious, always aware only. It never stops. That way, even when you get up from deep sleep, you say, I did not know anything. Means there was nothing to know. That also you knew. So our Pujya Swamiji used to say, it's called Alupta Drik. Okay, means he'll say it is like this. Means there is no eyelids for Atma. Eyes have eyelids, so you can close it. Atma does not have any eyelids or anything. It is always of the same nature. If there is something, it becomes evident to you. If there is nothing also, nothing is evident to you. That's all. But the Atma still remains as it is. It has not changed its nature or anything. That is the thing one has to understand here. That is what is the answer here. By giving all this, basically what has been said is, this Atma Chaitanya is Deha Vitirikta, Indriya Vitirikta, Mano Vitirikta, all this correct? So this Karya Karna Sanghata Vitirikta, it is this body mind sense complex. It is different from that, it is separate from that, but it is not objectifiable by either your mind or your senses and all that. Neither your sense organs can objectify it, nor your organs of action can do anything to it. In the Gita also Bhagavan says the same thing, correct? Achedyoyam adahyoyam akledyo shoshya yevacha. All this he says. You cannot burn it, you cannot drown it, you cannot dry it, you cannot cut it. Like this, he is giving all this again. In fact, 2 verses are there. Same thing he repeats in different ways. Okay? There it's all karmendriya. Mainly because in the context of killing and getting killed, Bhagavan is talking there. So, Atma is never an object of any indriya, it is aprameya in fact. That's why it is called aprameya, means what? It cannot be objectified either by your sense organs or your object of action. Means how can you destroy it then? It can never be destroyed. That is the beauty, that is the nature of yourself. That is the Dehi, the one which is there within the Deha. The nature of that Dehi is what? Dehi is aprameya, cannot be objectified by anything. Only that which is an object can be destroyed, because the object is in space-time, and that object can become subjected to some kind of action and all that. But Atma transcends all these things. Atma is always the subject, it can never be objectified. That means to reveal that also you have to reveal it in a certain manner. Only in this way I can reveal. Is it clear? Like Shrotra says Shrotram, Manasaha Manaha, Drashtuhu, of the Drishtahe Drashtuhu. This is the way it is revealed. This is the way we can reveal, because Vijñātaram Are Kena Vijaniyat. How can you know this consciousness itself, which is never an object of any cognition, but it is the cognizer, it is the Swarupa of the cognizer, we have to say, correct? It is of the very nature of the knower. So that is the beauty here, that is the answer. We will further see how the Upanishad proceeds. It's very interesting, this Upanishad. In fact, 4 kandas are there. The first kandam we are seeing now. Then there is a story also, interesting story about Devas. So all that we'll see. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.